How are you feeling today, Connor?
As per watching this movie, I'm in agony.
Me too. Ever since you came back into my life. Or something. What did we watch
we
today?
watched Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones, Episode 2.
Yep. And you know what?
That one did not get better with age.
I may have gotten more disenfranchised with it since the last time I watched it.
Yeah.
Um,
Sadly.
So, before we go too far into this, does it deserve to be on the top 250 list?
No. I still think that Episode 1 is better. Like my vibes in my soul.
As much as I empirically disagree with you, I'm probably not using that word precisely correct.
I like it.
As much as I disagree with you on what I think is the objective terms of this film, right? I think this movie is objectively better than The Phantom Menace.
That's a good point.
Subjectively, this time around, I almost agree with you.
I'm just going to bully you with my feelings into agreeing with me on certain movies, not all movies. You have
this one. I don't know. I don't think it's you.
Okay.
I think this is entirely me.
Okay, so let's go and talk about why that is. It does not deserve its place in the top 250.
Yeah. And I would recommend it to someone who just wants to watch all the top 250, or not the top 250, all the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, like in general, it's not the worst. You get some really good memes out of this one.
I don't feel like it's worth it for the scenes that those memes are from.
Specifically, that's true. I think that's the only reason people were like, "Oh, we're gonna make memes out of these sections," because that's the only value they add.
Yeah,
we had to get some value from them.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be a really short, pre-spoiler
heavy
episode, I think, because we just got to get into the problems on this one, because it's a lot to unravel. So,
all right, speed round, ratings, enjoyment, technical.
Yeah, technically, this one takes a big dip from me. This is like it has to at least be above a 5, because it's not technically bad, right? The technical aspects of it, specifically the spectacle and the sound, are still very much here.
Very true.
There's a lot of things I noticed this time around that, like, the CG just made me cringe inside.
Certain moments.
And you can tell how much of this movie was shot in front of a blue screen. Like, just so many scenes where I'm just like, you look like you're not in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really tragic, because this is Star Wars, and Star Wars is really good in every other movie that they've done.
Exactly.
In immersing you in the world. Yeah. But this one, like, I could not unsee the fact that everybody was standing 10 feet away from their environment.
Yep.
And it was really, really hard this time around. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't noticed it before, but yeah, this is... On technical, I have to give it, I'll give it a 6.
Yeah. No, that's totally good. You brought me up in my technical, so we'll get to that in a second.
Okay. And then as far as enjoyment, it's still going to be a 5 from me, probably. And I'll talk about the reasons that I actually, like, the things that I think are objectively good about this do bring that rating up quite a bit for me. But this was a hard watch.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough. Cool. So for me, I was going to put technical at 4, but it's actually not that bad. I think I'm just in a bad mood today. So I would probably agree with you on 6 to like low 7 range. The dialogue in this movie is worse than the first movie, I think.
Yeah, it's abysmal.
A lot of the CGs is really cool. The one, obviously, the sound effects are fantastic. You have the eargasm that is the seismic charges.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Which are just absolutely stunning.
If this entire movie was that scene, This
it
would
be
be
the perfect movie. Like,
It'd be a 9 on both scales.
it's actually a pretty fun asteroid battle as well.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
the Jango and Boba aren't bad characters, and I love Obi-Wan. So
Yeah.
in space with the seismic charges, you got everything you need.
And the brilliance of the sound design to make the lead up to the actual explosion silent.
Yes. Oh, while you're just watching, you're
Yeah,
like,
you're just
oh, I know.
you watch the whole thing and then it comes back in and then you hear it. Yeah.
So good. Anyway, so that's getting closer
do
to
remember-
spoilers.
Yeah, I do remember seeing this in theaters.
Yeah.
And just that sound was
Oh, I know, especially in theaters. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they could hit every register. And,
yeah.
so good. Anyway, so enjoyment. I'm probably this time around. I think this will change if I watch
Yeah.
it again. I watched it a lot as a kid as well, but it just didn't have the same spot for me as Phantom Menace. So I'm putting it at a 4 or a 5.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle. There.
So we're in a very similar place right now.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah, so fair warning, we are probably going to come down on this movie pretty hard.
Yeah. Sorry for anyone that really likes this one out of the prequels.
Yeah.
Only kind of sorry.
And this, I also may just be in a bad mood today. Like I
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah.
No, me too.
This-
I didn't
yeah.
sleep as well last night as I wanted to. I got some 3 minutes of sleep during this movie.
I did a run
Whoops.
today, and that was it as far as
Yeah.
working out for the past 5 days.
Yeah.
So my depression's creeping in a little bit.
Yeah.
And my anger hasn't been released. So
Yeah.
there's a very good chance that that's
This is
affecting.
one of the things. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So just
Um,
as a warning, thank you for being here. Thank
Yeah.
you for working through this with us. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Just from a critical perspective, I
Yeah.
think it's only fair to say where your critic
Completely agree.
is in their
We
life
aren't
right now.
objective.
So yeah.
So you're
Summary.
asking me to be rational.
That's something I cannot do. Oh.
Okay, so spoiler warnings. Please, if you do like us, subscribe, share us around, send us to people you like.
If you don't like us,
Please
then
tell us why.
yeah, or also do those things just out of spite,
Yeah.
because that would be fun.
It's very Connor attitude, kind of.
Yeah. So anyway,
Let's go into this.
summary.
Oh yeah, summary.
So
Okay.
Anakin is given the task, I guess, of protecting Padme, whose life is in danger from assassination. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan is chasing a lead about a bounty hunter that was trying to kill her. He goes on a space noir that finds him on Geonosis, which is a planet where they are building robots to start a war. And Padme and Anakin fall in love, in air quotes, and then go to save him when he gets into trouble. And all of this culminates with a war starting, which we find out was the entire idea of this film. Like the Sith were plotting to start a war, and everybody kind of fell into their hands. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving an accurate one, because again, that just lets off the pressure for me actually doing one that's accurate. So it's been 10 years. Those Trade Federation guys from the first movie still have no chill, and therefore they're like, yo, we're going to go grab some more of these systems, more of these people, because we hate the Republic or something. I don't know why actually we're doing this, except for we like the Sith. So they call in the Dream Team, Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Ewan McGregor, and Anakin Skywalker, played by, I can't remember what his name is.
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen. Thank you, sir. They are tasked with protecting Padme and figuring out why she is being attacked for being the awesome senator from Naboo.
Natalie Portman.
Also played by Natalie Portman. So they go and do that. Anakin goes and takes her to Naboo and watches her for a little bit, but then gets bored because his mom's dying or something. And then they go to Tatooine. He kills everyone. Obi-Wan goes and finds
the women and the children.
Two.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan goes to a couple planets. One is, they're like nearly direct opposites. You have the entire water planet in this one. You have the entire sand planet in this one. And then you have the bug planet.
Which is mostly sand.
Which is also mostly sand. So they kind of went through the extremes here. And that's the second sand planet ruled by bugs. It's where they're building lots of robots.
Mm-hmm.
And then the clones show up.
From the water planet.
From the water planet.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did so well here. This is like Dune.
What do you mean?
Where they came from. I can't remember what the original planet was called in Dune.
Oh, Arrakis?
Arrakis was water. No, Arrakis is Dune.
Yeah.
What's the water planet? I can't remember.
Yeah, I haven't. I'm currently coming up on the fourth book.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it doesn't get referenced after the first one.
It's Caladan. It's because it's like Caladan.
Oh yeah, you're right, but it's spelled with a C.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Caladan is Camino, and they go to Dune, which is Geonosis.
I don't know. Caladan, I feel like is more Naboo than
it probably is.
But
this doesn't matter.
No, it
this
really
is a
doesn't.
bad summary. It's summed up with Anakin has the hots for Padme, which causes him to have all kinds of troubles while Obi-Wan's trying to save this freaking system.
Yeah.
And then they all fight on a desert planet with the clones that they got miraculously from the Sith, which we don't know yet.
Well, we do know that.
Kind of. We don't know that the Sith were the ones that placed the order. Because that's under a Jedi.
You can,
Tiberius, I mean, or whatever his name was.
They cast aspersions on it in this movie, as well as saying that the bounty hunter was hired by Lord Tyrannus.
Yeah,
which we do find out is Count Dooku.
Exactly.
So like, I feel like we're
really dang.
Yeah, it's not 100% confirmed, but it's
the fact that they had such a large oversight in it. Is one discredit to Obi-Wan. He's not a detective.
Yeah. So I will say that is the one thing that I will defend from this movie, and I've defended it more in the past than I would right now. But I think that this movie suffers from having a terrible romance plot be the center of it. It's not well written. It's not well directed. And honestly, the actors don't have chemistry.
No.
Right? Like, I don't think either of them are bad actors necessarily. But they don't act well together.
Out of the two, I would peg Natalie Portman as the better actor.
I mean, I would too, maybe in a role like this. But Hayden Christensen, like the scenes where you see him just absolutely furious.
He does a really good job with those. Absolutely.
Right. Like, I mean, the only reason that the scenes where he's like throwing a fit aren't just absolutely soul crushing is because of how bad the writing is.
And then the choreography within the directing. Like there could have been a lot more emotional impact than those scenes.
I think he's genuinely a good actor.
That's a good point. I very, very nice point.
But yeah, so the horrible decision was to make this the main plot that we spend over half the movie with. When I think Obi-Wan has a really, really interesting, like, noir plot.
Exactly.
Where he is trying to unravel a genuinely interesting mystery.
Yeah, like, Camino is hidden from, like, is deleted from the databanks, which is such a really cool conspiracy. Like, that's they knew, whoever they is that set this up, knew that, like, doing that would make it even more enticing for whoever takes this on. And, like, you didn't know it was going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right, yeah.
If you were doing this so far ago, but like it's a good setup, and like figuring out why it happened and like, oh no, now you have a like literally a gift that's too good to be true
Yeah.
that you're now accepting
Well, yeah, and you have, and out of necessity
out of
too, right?
necessity. Like
Yeah.
there isn't a reason not to do this,
Yeah.
and there's only a lot of reasons to do it. I mean,
I honestly think that this is a very well plotted movie.
yeah, like from the politics in this one and
Yeah.
the scheming from our macro level, if you like disregard most of the dialogue that
Yeah.
communicates it to you, is really good. Like
Right,
it's a pretty cool story.
Right, yeah. And like even down to him tracking down the bounty hunter and like following him to a second location, and then like finding all of this army that's being
and reporting it
created
back.
And yeah, like it's really really well done
Yeah.
in that regard. But yeah, I think this ever-present love story between characters that we don't believe are actually in love, and honestly the emotion that they try to shoehorn into the love story just falls so flat. I laughed several times at scenes that were not supposed to be funny.
Yes, exactly.
And
because that's what the emotion that it invokes.
Right,
yeah. Like it's cringy humor instead of like romantic intimacy.
Yeah.
Like it's not what you're looking for when you're trying to go and set up Anakin as a character. Like
yeah. But yeah, I honestly and that's the reason that this time through it was so much more difficult for me to watch, is because I couldn't get that bad taste out of my mouth the entire time that I was watching. Like every scene, I was like, I know that after this one we're going back to Anakin and Padme, and I really don't want to.
Exactly.
And so it honestly just it felt like a slog.
Yep. I completely agree.
But yeah,
and like yeah, there wasn't like it didn't feel like the time spent with them actually helped build any sort of character development or relationship development. Like
the way it's written, Anakin feels creepy, and Padme just kind of
is aloof and really distant.
Yeah.
Like sometimes like at 1 or 2 points you're like, oh, see, like at that point she gave him the smoldery eyes. Like, yes, that's a good point. But like, why did she?
Yeah.
What he's doing is not attractive. Like,
and again, this is not the actor's fault, right? Like this isn't Anakin or Hayden Christensen, I guess. This isn't him being a bad actor. This is what he was told to do, right? Like this is the dialogue they gave him.
Yeah.
This is the scene that he was supposed to be playing in. The things that he's doing and saying are not his choice. It's how he does them and how he says them that are his choice.
Yep.
And like, I feel so bad for the guy.
Yeah.
Because like Natalie Portman at least had like a significant career after this, right? She went on to do a lot of stuff.
Like a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And a lot of well-received stuff.
Yes.
Hayden Christensen after this was just written off as not a good actor, which I genuinely don't believe he's a bad one. Like I think he's a good actor, and it's kind of tragic to see.
Agreed. I really liked him in Kenobi though. Just anyone that's out there.
I didn't get to him in Kenobi.
You didn't get to him?
No.
Okay. Well,
I watched 1 or 2 episodes.
I really liked Kenobi, but
I don't know, bored, caught up with other things. I don't know. Yeah.
I completely agree. All right. So we already kind of talked a little bit about standout scenes and performances. We liked Obi-Wan a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I did kind of like and this goes a little bit into theme, but I like the Yoda starts out very early on saying, hey, the Jedi are kind of getting cocky. Like, we're getting pretty arrogant. We're not doing a great job of like being protectors of the peace. And then the rest of the movie, you see like cases of that happening, even with like Yoda and Mace.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that you say that, because I've always just seen that as a shot at Obi-Wan.
And I think it is as well.
Yeah.
Like Obi-Wan, and I can also feel Qui-Gon. Like,
Okay,
it's
that's
a
fair.
slight reach back into Qui-Gon as well.
That's fair.
But
Don't speak ill of the dead, Yoda.
yeah, he's so old, man.
He just
Anyone
doesn't
he
care
talks
anymore.
about at this point is dead. Like, the vast majority of the people.
Yoda doesn't have to care.
Doesn't have to care. He's 960 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Or I don't think it's 1,000. Like 860 or something.
I don't know.
He's
Yeah.
ancient. Like,
There's a throwaway line in Return of the Jedi. I can't remember how old he says he is.
when 900 years old you are.
Look as good you will not.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I just don't remember what the actual number is. It might be 900.
I think it was 900. So, anyway, I liked the feeling of like the archivist lady was like, nah, there's no way that we can be wrong when it comes
Right,
to this
yeah.
Camino system, and their inability to use the Force for predictions as well, which
Mhm.
I think is just actually a direct consequence of being right next to the Sith Lord, which we learn about in the next movie.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a really, really good way.
Well, we learn about it in this one.
Well, we don't know who he is.
We just
yet.
don't know. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we kind of know.
Yeah, we do.
He's played by the
Who
same
doesn't?
actor.
Exactly. If you don't know yet, you should.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but all at the same time, like they are stagnant. Like they aren't growing as much as they probably should be
Yeah.
in this specific kind of situation.
Yeah, I do like the, there's not a lot of things in these movies that you can say is subtle.
True.
The subtle hand they play with showing the failure of the Jedi as an organization is honestly kind of brilliant.
Yeah,
in
they did
this.
a really good job, I think. Especially over 3 movies.
Which honestly makes me feel like maybe it wasn't intentional. But yeah, I think they did a good job of conveying that.
They knew
in
they
a
had
way
a
that-
destination that they needed to get to. The
Yeah.
Jedi can't be here anymore. We want the Jedi to be here now, and so no
Yeah.
matter what, in between A and B.
But yeah, I mean, even saying that they're weakening, and Yoda saying specifically like, we can't let anyone else know that we're weakening because
Yeah.
right now the only people that, or the only person that knows is the Sith Lord, and if we tell all of the other people, then they're just going to fight against us because they're going to see us as weak.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a very good subtle touch.
There's a lot of like, again, in this one, I mentioned in the last episode how Yoda had mentioned that he was fearful, and you just see that again here. Like,
Yeah.
there's still that undertow of fear in the Jedi Order, of them diminishing, and of like the threats that are coming up, and of the Sith.
Yeah.
Like there's, yeah, their foundation is crumbling.
Yeah, and this is the one where we see Anakin transition from fear to anger as well.
Yeah, and potentially to hate, like at least a little bit to hate. Not as much. It's not
I
the
would-
full transition.
I would say there isn't that transition to hate because while he does take out all of his anger on the Tusken Raiders, and like you see the hatred in his eyes when he tells Padme about it, he also immediately feels sorrowful about it.
That's a good point. I
And
feel like
so-
it's like little mini bursts that are like
Yeah.
just piling up.
Yeah.
And that was one of the obvious ones that we see in this.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I hesitate to talk about this because of how terrible some of the transitionary parts are, as far as the way it's written. But Obi-Wan, or his perspective on Obi-Wan in the 2 scenes that we get it, right? Like, we get a little bit before, but there's the first one where he talks about, Obi-Wan, and he's thankful that he's his master and
when
all this
Padme's
stuff,
back,
but in many ways he doesn't see how good Anakin is.
Yeah.
Right, and we start to see his arrogance creep through in the end of that, and then they just kind of let it go. Versus the second time when he has that conversation, where he just completely says that it's Obi-Wan's fault, and
jealous. He's holding me back.
Yeah, he's holding me back, and it's like there is some really interesting things to be said regarding his character there. And I think that's supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be something that we were supposed to see as like a character change, but it feels too sudden.
Yeah.
And not connected enough to him losing his mother and also killing all these Tusken Raiders for it to feel like a natural transition.
I agree.
But as far as like markers for it, I think they're pretty solid markers. I like them as what they're intended to be.
Yeah.
Right. I just don't think that the second one was set up enough. So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a ton left to talk about with this movie. Like, it's
the one thing I do remember as a kid when I did go and see this in theaters was when Yoda pulls out his lightsaber. Like, at least my theater just went crazy.
Oh yeah,
we're all so excited to finally see a saber pedal.
They do a really good job setting up the fact that that Yoda's a little bit of a badass.
Yes.
When in this movie, when they're in the speeder at the beginning, and Obi-Wan tells him, if you spent as much time on your lightsaber fighting as you did
piloting,
you would rival Master Yoda as a swordsman. And
I thought I already did.
Only in your mind, my young apprentice. And then the second one was, I think, Count Dooku talks about how powerful Yoda is, or something like that. But essentially just talking about...
Sidious.
Was it Sidious?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Palpatine. When he's talking with Anakin, I also was going to mention, like, a lot of this is being said by Palpatine.
Yeah.
When he's talking with Anakin privately. But yeah, he mentions there, like he's...
So maybe there is a third one, because I think Dooku says something about it.
Probably.
When Obi-Wan's in...
The cool.
Yeah.
Slowly rotating.
Okay, also, there are some really just genius things in this about how, like, the technology works and that kind of stuff. Just tiny little details. One that I didn't catch until I think the last time I saw this before tonight was the Trade Federation ships that, like, when they go up and then they click into the...
I think I realized it again last time, but again, this time I was like, oh, those balls are the balls in the Trade Federation ships.
Right, yeah. It's just so cool. There are a lot of little things like that where it's just like, oh, you thought that through.
Good job, guys.
And it's really, really cool.
I love the very explicit hints of the correlation between the Clone Army and the Stormtroopers.
With the Imperial March playing at the end.
Imperial March playing at the end, and the construct of their armor, and the architecture of their starships being Star Destroyers, just smaller.
Yeah.
It's very, very cool.
Yeah, there are a lot of details that are just very, very well done. And honestly, some of the action scenes are still really, really impressive. Basically, from the battle. Also the monster design, right?
Yeah,
of the execution.
Is really good. Yeah, I loved the 3 execution monsters.
Yeah,
feels like Pokemon for a sec for some reason in my brain, but it's super cool.
It's also cooler, I think, when you know some of the outside lore, right? Like the fact that these three creatures had to be collected from different planets.
Yeah, those are like 3 separate ones.
Yeah.
Like...
And that they brought them in to kill people because it's fun to watch.
It's fun to watch.
But yeah, basically from the execution through pretty much the end of the movie, I think it is a relatively enjoyable time.
Yes.
Incidentally, that's about where the Anakin Padme love story ends.
Yes.
Like, we kind of just drop it for the rest of the movie.
Because you don't need to. They're all fighting.
Yeah.
They're all shooting until they get married at the end.
Until they get married, but that's a very short scene with no dialogue.
Exactly.
But yeah, there are a lot of like little technical details that I do really, really enjoy about this, and I think that's part of what makes it a Star Wars movie, right? Like, Star Wars has always been really good with small details, and making it feel like it's a real thing.
Absolutely.
Which again, I think is ruined a little bit by the fact that you can tell everybody's on a blue screen.
Yeah.
Also, the image quality feels like it
was worse.
Well, I know why it was.
Why?
This was shot entirely on digital, and digital was not ready yet. I would make the argument it's still not ready, but I know I'm
purist.
I'm a little bit of I'm very much a purist, and I'm also in the minority on that. That being said, I feel like we can somewhat objectively say, you know what, this is the Star Wars movie that looks most like it was shot on a camcorder.
Yeah, it's like super grainy, and I didn't get it.
Yeah. So it was shot on digital back in like whenever this came out, 2001, 2002?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Which again, great technology still for its time.
But,
like, I remember like it as a kid being like, this one just looks fuzzy. Like, everything's kind of glowy. There's not as much, like, I can't see them as well. Yeah. Like,
the makeup doesn't work quite right. Their face has this like red sheen to it. It's kind of weird. Not as bad as what they did to the original trilogy when they released the special editions, which is why when we get there, we're watching the despecialized editions.
I'm loving that. That sounds great.
So I have lots of things to say about that when we get there, but for now,
so excited.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to cover in this?
I don't think so. This one, again, this time around, I'm putting Phantom Menace above it, which is a strange feeling for me.
Yeah.
But like at least in the first one, it felt like the small things that get annoying, like, make it endearing. The small things in this that make it annoying are just downright irritating.
Yeah.
You can't look back on it like with fondness, like, ah, cute little Star Wars movie, you tried something cool. You look at it and you're like, you already did this in the first one. And it's worse.
I wonder how much of this for me is going into it with the expectation that this one is at least better than the Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
I would still hold that I have more things that bother me for a substantial period of time in the Phantom Menace than I do Attack of the Clones.
Makes sense.
And there are less redeeming things about the Phantom Menace to me. So, it is what it is. But the next one, I feel like, is where Star Wars is
of the prequels.
Oh, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Yeah. So I'm excited. They're only going to get better from here.
Yes.
And by no small margin.
No small margin, which is very, very nice.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So tune in next week. We're going to be doing
Revenge of the Sith, which I have seen, and I assume you have as well.
Yeah. Once or twice.
So.
Oh, we get another new planet type that is like the opposite of Naboo. Mustafar.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Utapau.
Utapau's really cool. It's not really the opposite. That's like Utah.
It's Naboo, but everything is in holes in the ground rather than above the ground. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like just a random, really holy state.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it, and I love Grievous. Anyway, we'll talk about him
Yeah.
next week.
Yep. All right. How do we end this?